Okay, I'd like to welcome everybody to the Thursday, June 17, 2021 regular meeting of the Marysville Board of Education. Can we have a roll call, please?
Mr. Luke?
Here.
Ms. Savage?
Here.
Ms. Powers?
Here.
Mr. Smith?
Here.
Ms. Devine?
Here. It's really nice to see everybody here tonight, their faces and stuff. We're moving in the right direction. And now if everybody would stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I would now accept a motion to approve the agenda for tonight's meeting.
So moved.
Motion by Mrs. Powers,
Second.
second by Mr. Smith. Roll call.
Ms. Powers?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Luke?
Yes.
Ms. Savage?
Yes.
Ms. Devine?
Yes, motion carries. I do not believe there is any public participation, so we'll move right on to reports. And we have no presentation tonight either, so moving right on to reports and starting with our High Point report.
Good afternoon. So the latest meeting from High Point is primarily focusing on the construction project, which is making leaps and bounds. So
Good.
if you're over in the Bell Fountain area, please take a trip to drive by, take a look at it. It's going to be quite an improvement from the previous fascia, and it is incorporating many of the tech career facilities for which the workforce is demanding. So they've been really focusing on workforce, and they're going through and revamping what courses are going to be offered based on what the community is asking for as far as workforce support. So,
Great.
and then I think that's about it. Yeah.
Okay, great. Any questions for Ms. Savage? All right, then next up, our superintendent's report.
I have several things to highlight. First of all, I wanted to kind of highlight summer school, extended learning opportunities. I think we mentioned last time we've had over 600 students sign up for some kind of opportunity this summer. The past couple weeks, we've had the opportunity to greet elementary students into STEAM camp. They are so excited to return every day, so that's been a lot of fun. We have some students engaged in virtual book clubs, and we have kind of the traditional model of credit recovery happening at the high school, as well as some new credit experiences that are designing your own courses and elective courses. So even though school is out, it seems very busy around the district. Last week I was asked to participate in a video that will be shared through Chamber to celebrate our community's connectedness to Japanese culture and industry. So I was able to brag about our Japanese program, our sister city relationship, and student exchange program. So that was a lot of fun. As you know, and can certainly see by tonight's agenda, it's hiring season. So as you continue to get updates even today, I believe, with new people we were adding. Reminder, July 19th, we'll have our first session on strategic planning. Knowledge Works will be here to work with us on some forecasting. I wanted to update all of you, even though we are in person and COVID restrictions are continuing to lessen, we still have to report COVID cases, so our dashboard is going to stay up. We have not had any cases, but it is a part of the legislation that was not removed, and so we will continue, if cases are reported to us, to report them to be in compliance with that. So we'll leave our dashboard active. We did take our restart tab off, or is in the process of coming off. Currently, we have over 75 Marysville students enrolled in the virtual academy. There's several families we're still continuing to work with as well. Mr. Stackhouse is extending that opportunity to our students who are currently enrolled in a different virtual option. I do not have the numbers yet for Fairbanks. North Union ended up deciding not to participate, so it's just a Fairbanks and Marysville venture at this time. Already this summer, the admin team has engaged in 4 days of training with a focus on inclusionary practices and supporting strategies for the idea to support all district employees and students. So we've done a lot of work around acceptance, inclusion, understanding signs and symbols in our building, really looking at new student populations that are joining in our school district and kind of coming up with ways to engage with them on a more personal level, ideas that were shared, just simple things like maybe bathroom signage that is also in multiple languages. We do know, for example, we were just notified from our contact at Honda that we have 10 new Venezuelan families joining us. So really just trying to create those opportunities to embrace new people to our school district. And I think it was pretty powerful and left people really thinking about what more they can do and another strategy to put in their toolbox. So I felt pretty good about that. The last day of that was yesterday, the elementary principal's last day. So
If I can, we've got, just in our own county, we've got quite a number of companies that are either foreign-owned or have people, they're foreign-owned or people from other countries that are coming into Union County here. And I know in Central Ohio, there's like 1,000 companies that have international connections. And so I think this is really important. I'm glad that we're working in that direction, because as a teacher with exchange students, it was always interesting to have them share their culture, and it provided a lot of opportunity for my students to gain a little different perspective, and I see this as an opportunity for our community to gain from this experience. So
we definitely talked about that topic of multiple perspectives, right? And appreciating and how to, we did a couple, we really did training on how you honor and respect that conversation on multiple perspectives when you have two extreme points of view, and working on building the bridge to connect that conversation. So felt pretty good about that. I think those, okay. And kindergarten, I forgot that part. We are currently at 399 kindergarten students and 37 students in Alt-K. So Alt-K is capped currently. People who express an interest will keep a list, but it typically doesn't grow over the summer. Kindergarten will continue to grow, so we're already at 399. We did not keep last year's enrollment after maybe June 1st, so for kindergarten, so I don't have a comparative. But as you know, our class sizes are normally around anywhere in the range from 400 to 450. Right. So we're already on that target, so we'll see what happens over the summer. I don't do enrollment reports in the summer because we'll look inflated. One of the things, just as a reminder, people don't typically withdraw students. If we have a family move to, let's say, Hilliard, they may not have anyone in the school office to accept that enrollment, so we keep that kid, or it could happen vice versa. So I'll wait till that stabilizes a little bit and then give you an update at the beginning of August.
Okay.
Thank you.
Were you going to say anything about facility rentals at all?
We are revisiting facility rentals. So with COVID, that was under my COVID notes.
Okay.
We are starting to open back up our facilities for community use. So Shannon has been trying to, we've already met with the community concert guys, and we're starting to open that up. We also have our relationship with the cycling event at Edgewood. So we're starting to reopen those. That was kind of our last phase of moving out. So things are opening back up for us on that front as well.
Okay, great. Any other questions or comments?
So I was curious, what company did we end up going with for the inclusion training?
We used a man who's local to Marysville with a company called Just Matters. Both facilitators have a counseling and honestly a what's the word I'm looking for? Marriage counseling background initially, and have worked to morph a platform around using the same kind of conversations about reconciliation to engage in conversations about race and differences, and so.
Okay.
Yep.
And then is there a step 2 that this is going to be shared through the rest of the organization?
So that's what principals are charged with right now. So principals, at the end of the session yesterday, I think we were trying to brainstorm at a time that we may have been a little bit brain defunct.
Exhausted. Yeah.
So we asked people to pause and disconnect, but we have sent out a follow-up to get input, and then we'll work on that a little bit on the summer. So if you can wait till probably August 1, and I'll tell you exactly how. I think the general consensus was across the buildings, and I'll let you guys intervene if you think I'm wrong, is that there was an interest in kind of staying on the same page across the district, whether we adopt thematic units or some kind of charge, but the idea was in K-12 we're going to be in it all together, right? And so we'll be speaking the same language and having the same conversations. A little different than kindergarten than 12th grade, obviously, but those same conceptual ideas. Brainstorming ideas, we're working on badging systems for students, setting up competencies for students, and so they could see their growth in different areas. Let's say belonging was a concept. So they could do different things in their community at home with a person at school to show that they understood what belonging was and demonstrate that and possibly get a badge that would reflect that learning. So there are a lot of pretty cool ideas kind of circulating right now.
Okay, good. Great.
Sure.
All right. Treasurer's report.
Okay, a few items to update. If you've been following state politics any, we've got another version of the state funding formula. You may remember that the House came out with their version, known as either the Fair School Funding Act or the Cupp-Patterson Plan. So the Senate more recently released their version of a state funding plan, and they, I would say as expected, they did not use the Fair School Funding or the Cupp-Patterson formula. They came up with their entirely own version. From a dollars and cents standpoint, the Senate version was more favorable for Marysville. If it were to be implemented as they've proposed in fiscal year 22, it would be an increase of $1.3 million. Compared to current funding, and then an additional $884,000 in the following year. It's actually an additional $2.5 million compared to the House version. Now, also, I think we've seen from history, you know, the House came with the plan, the Senate came with the plan, and neither of those is going to be what's finally implemented. So we don't know that yet. The House has already decided they don't like the Senate's plan. So they're going to be creating a conference committee where they kind of hash out their differences and come up with some type of a compromise to send on to the governor. There's a hard deadline of June 30th that they probably won't meet. So we'll probably know sometime in July of what that funding formula is going to look like. But, you know, I guess I felt a little better about it after seeing the Senate's version. And if the compromise is somewhere in the middle, then that still maybe is better than where we started. Yeah, there's so many different details in there that, you know, there may be some aspects of one that's better than the other for us. I mean, the one, I would say, potential negative of the Senate plan is the vouchers. They really expand the voucher system. Now, right now, that has zero impact on us because we don't have any students taking advantage of that in Marysville, but that doesn't mean in the future that they might not. So, but as of right now, it would have no impact. Any questions on that one before I move on?
I think, was there one of, I think, didn't both the House and the Senate, one of the positives was that monies for charters and things like that would go directly from the state to the charters instead of being taken out of our funding, or instead of us having to take it out, which that was a positive.
Absolutely. I mean, that was one of my favorite parts of the House version, was taking those deductions out away from our formula and just funding them separately.
Right.
And the Senate kept that in there, so
Yeah.
I think that was a good thing for both. And I guess if it's in both of them, there's a,
Right,
you know, a good
chance.
chance that it maybe
Yeah.
makes it all the way through,
Just one
hopefully.
positive.
Next thing would be to talk about our permanent improvement forecast a little bit. We received our, I guess it would technically be our first half TIF payment from the city, which would be the final payment that we receive in the fiscal year. It was $588,000 for the year. We're $588,000 above original projections. So that was great news. It's probably a little early to say that this is a sure thing. That number just carries out throughout the forecast, but at the same time, it's based on values. So there's really no reason it shouldn't carry out unless there were some early significant decreases in values. I know of one in the district where we're going to see a sizable decrease, but it's, you know, that one in and of itself is not enough to, you know, really drop revenue. But if that becomes a trend, then, you know, that could go the other way. But as of now, that looks really good, and I would anticipate that it'll carry through at least to some extent. I guess what that means for the forecast in the short term, it means that we will be able to pay off that stadium loan that we took several years back. When we took that out, we said we did it with a 5-year early payoff option, so that if we had the funds available, we could pay it off and save interest. So based on this revenue going up and other things going well there's no doubt we'll pay that off early and save over $200,000 in interest costs. And also, we had advanced money from the general fund into the PI forecast while we waited for the TIF revenue to come in over the next several years for the stadium project. Well, as revenues have come in higher, in July, I will make the full payback of that $2.7 million to the PI fund, from the PI fund back to the general fund. So that was great news. I'll show those pictures now. So I'll just give a quick update on the high school gym project that is being paid for out of the PI fund. So a couple things. For me, going into that gym, one of the biggest eyesores was the HVAC unit up in the ceiling. It just kind of gave it a old factory institutional feel, and that is gone. They're already working on the units, the actual AC units that will be on the rooftop, and they've got the venting system. It's not up there yet, but the materials are now here. So if you choose to go to a volleyball game or a wrestling match this year, it should be a little more comfortable than it may have been in the past. So as you can see, the floor is installed, but now it's still just the unfinished. So they're going to be, I think the painting is going to be starting at the end of this month. So here in about a week or a little over a week, the painting will start, and the bleacher install will begin about the middle of July. And we still are currently on schedule, which is always hard to say. You never know what will happen. But right now we're on schedule to be fully completed at the end of August. Okay, and the last update, our fiscal year 20 audit is finally complete. It kind of got off to a rocky start because when they were planning to start, that was when the car smashed into our office, and so they couldn't come. So that held them up, and then COVID and all the other stuff. So this was the audit that would never start and never end. So it finally is completed, and it is a clean audit once again, so that was great news. And they'll probably be starting the next audit like in the next month.
Yeah.
It starts tomorrow.
Yeah, and that's it for me.
Okay, I forgot, were either of you going to touch on the survey at all?
Not yet.
Okay, not yet, okay. Or even just an
I
update?
can just
an
say
update
that
on what's
survey is
happening and-
complete.
yes. Okay,
I
right.
sent all of you an update yesterday that
Right.
there'll be a webinar offered initially to Sue and Dick at the agenda meeting, and then we'll make decisions from there. We're having trouble, we're also going to send it out to our families and post it on our website.
Right.
It's a little more difficult to do in the format we're trying to figure out, so it's
Okay.
not quite ready, but we'll also send it that way, keep those results separate,
Right.
so that we can look at those compared to one another. So we'll have that one done as well when we have our completed. When we
And
get back together.
just so anybody who's watching us, this survey is to kind of get some information about
I
different
think we
types of
talked
levies.
about that too, yes.
Yeah, I think so.
This it really looks at gaining people's interest in income tax or a property tax for our next operating, and really gauging kind of their understanding
Right.
and potential factors that may influence how they would move forward, so that we can start to talk about that as a group and take that input.
Right.
It also asks questions about, the community at large, growth, the district at large, satisfaction, those
Right.
kind of things as
Right.
well. So Paul will give that webinar version, and then we'll have a discussion on how we want to move forward from there.
Great, thank you.
Mhm.
Any questions of Todd? Okay. For my report, first, I just want to remind anyone who's watching that our agenda and the monthly building notes are available online through Board Docs, and you can access that from the district website, Board of Education page. This morning, I attended a Chamber of Commerce board meeting, and Eric Phillips talked some about workforce development. As we all know, that's a hot topic in our area. There are like 8,000 unfilled jobs within a 20-mile radius of Marysville. So if you're looking for work, you're in the right place. But he also reminded us about a great resource on the Chamber's website. That's mylocalcareer.com, just spelled out, mylocalcareer.com. It's for adults, but it's also for students. Students can register and they can fill out a few questions and get information on different job types, career opportunities in the area. So I just highly encourage families, students to check that out. Also, the Chamber Golf outing is Friday, August 6th, and I think we've decided we may have a school team for that. If anyone is, I have the registration form here, and then the Chamber annual event, if you want to put this on your calendar, that's September 9th. This year they're planning a business expo at the Pavilion uptown, followed with a gathering at the newly renovated Avalon Theater. Also wanted to talk about the work session that we had on May 24th. I thought it was really productive. We revised our governance team protocols. Those are going to be on our agenda tonight for approval. And Brian and Nan, want to shout out to you guys. They shared an overview of some work that they've started on a board orientation packet. We really appreciate that work, and we'll be scheduling a follow-up work session probably later this summer, where hopefully we can pull things together and get that finalized. Next month, we'll have our end-of-year evaluations for our superintendent and treasurer. Let's see, and we'll also have that special meeting on July 19th that you were talking about, where we're going to be kicking off that work on updating our district strategic plan and doing some visioning, hearing about education in the future. Capitol Conference this year is going to be in person in the fall, so another thing to put on your calendars, November 7th through 9th. And I'll just briefly mention that later tonight on our agenda, we also have a resolution for the to recognize our own Dick Smith and with an OSBA Recognition Award, so we'll talk more about that later. And finally, to wrap up my report, I always like to talk a little bit about student achievement. And Diane and I were talking maybe a week or so ago and saying, you know, school's over and we've all kind of had a chance to reflect on this last year. And I really want to commend our governance team. Kind of want to toot our own horn here tonight because I think that we always kept our focus on the safety of our students, staff, and families, but we also provided the best academic and social emotional support possible. We know we didn't always make everyone happy, but I think our consistency in our use of data was definitely appreciated by our staff and families. And then I think our recent work on revising our protocols is another example of our professional and thoughtful efforts to positively impact student achievement. And as we know, research has shown clearly that effective boards do positively impact student achievement. And now as we look forward to revisiting our district strategic plan, I'm confident that our governance team, along with student, staff, and community input, will use what we've learned since the original strategic plan was approved back in 2014, seems like eons ago, and once again set a direction that results in a continued laser focus on student achievement, safety, financial stability, and partnerships, or any other area that we feel is appropriate now. We know that student achievement encompasses so much more than reading, writing, and arithmetic. And I really sense the excitement for taking some of the things we've learned just this past year to provide relevant and really impactful learning experience for every student, as well as supporting our staff with whatever resources and learning opportunities they need, because as we all know, learning is a lifelong adventure. So with that, I will finish my report and we can move on to our legislative report. Mr. Smith.
Thank you. One of the things that has happened since our last meeting was I participated in the National School Board Association Advocacy Institute, which this year was online. So there were 3 days of online meetings that lasted for 5 or 6 hours. So I have a real appreciation of what our students were facing this past year. In my report, which hopefully you all received, I included a letter, a sample letter. This one went to Sherrod Brown's office. All of the letters that went out to Sherrod Brown, Rod Portman, and Congressman Jordan were very similar. A little different introduction, a little different ending. But the focus of the letter, the biggest part of it, was how we were spending the federal money. In Washington, there has been a lot of discussion about, you know, we've dumped billions of dollars into public education. How's it being used? You know, what is it accomplishing? So with Todd's help and some direction from Diane, I was able to put together how the CARES Act, which was the first funding vehicle, how that helped us to kind of fill in the gaps when state funding was cut and helped support us in our planning. You know, had we not received those funds, our plans for this past year would have looked very different. And how the second influx of money, ESSER 2, the COVID Response and Relief Supplemental Appropriations Act, that really helped us in the academic instructional areas by supporting the coaches and all the associated kinds of expenses that went with that. And the third influx of money, the American Rescue Plan, which was just fairly recently released to us, is allowing us to offer the expanded summer program for the kids. So the funds that we received from the federal government were used very appropriately. I noted in here that our local data on our students, which we collected in February, indicated that the students were on target. They were within the range we would have expected them to be in had they been in school 5 days a week, in person, a normal school year, and attributed our ability to be able to meet that with the support of the federal funds. We talked about, we had meetings with Senator Brown's office and with Congressman Jordan's office. These were not in person, they were phone calls and a Zoom type meeting. And we talked about those kinds of things, but we also talked about the necessity for the federal government to increase its funding for IDEA, which is the Individuals with Disabilities in Education Act. They promised to support 40% of the additional cost. They're providing about 13%. If our district were fully funded from the federal government on IDEA, that would be over $3 million more a year. So it'd be a real significant amount of money. And we talked about also the digital divide, the focus that the pandemic created on internet access and broadband connectivity. Kate Rodriguez from Senator Brown's office asked whether or not we needed more equipment, more computers, or did we need the access to the internet? My partner from ELIDA, Pat Szymanski, and I both said we need the access. We've taken care of the hardware. What we need is the ability of kids to be able to log on and emphasize that that need is not going to go away just because we're transitioning to in-person learning this coming year. Because our teachers have learned some new things, they've got some new skills, they have ability to work with kids better. We also have some kids that have thrived in the internet, but we need to make sure that as I tend to look at it as an economic issue, where those that have money have good broadband internet, where those that don't have as much money, they really struggle to be able to do that. We need to make sure that we can do something for all of our kids that puts them all on an equal footing and gives them all an equal opportunity for a great education. And so, again, I appreciate the board's support for doing this. I think it is impactful. What we hear back from the Ohio School Board Association and also the National School Board Association is that it makes a real difference. And I could tell this year there just seemed in the two offices where we had conversations, there just seemed to be a lot more enthusiasm for trying to address these issues. And so, that was really a very positive thing.
And I would think that the fact that you and Pat have gone together for the past, 3 years at least, I think?
Well, it's a little longer than that, but yeah.
And I think that makes a difference too, because you're developing that relationship, I think, a little more, and
Yeah, we've made contact, we know the people that we're
Right.
talking to.
Right.
And they keep telling us, local stories, local interest, and so forth.
Right.
That seems to be the way that you can kind of catch their attention.
Right.
Locally, the budget, as Todd said, is very much a topic of conversation. I had a phone call with Senator Reneke's office, his aide, Adam Gilmore, and Adam said that he had no idea what was going to come out of the conference committee, they've had they had a meeting on Tuesday this past week just to kind of get started. And I pointed out, as Todd presented, there were a couple of things that looked pretty positive in both plans that we liked. The fact that there was direct funding and not a deduction from our funding if a student goes to a different school. And hoped that as the conference committee comes together that they look at how to kind of make a commitment for future funding to education, because we're on a 2-year budget cycle, and so when our treasurer sits down and has to fill out a 5-year forecast, he can have as many as 2 different budgets within that 5 years, and that makes planning extremely difficult. So, you know, if there are some things that they could keep going, that would be a real positive for us. I pointed out a couple of other bills that I think are of interest, maybe to you. I will highlight Senate Bill 166, which Senator Reneke introduced, that provides financial incentives to Ohio businesses to provide work-based learning experiences for students enrolled in career tech education programs. This has been amended a little bit. I provided Adam with some information on our auto tech program as an example of one of the things that we're doing. But this is very much on the mind of Senator Reneke, and I think hopefully we'll have an opportunity to have an in-person conversation with him sometime this fall. So.
Thank you very much. Any questions? Okay. Safety and Drug Committee report. Mrs. Powers.
Yes. Let me give you the information that was requested tonight. Thank you. I had to drop it off.
We would have it. Thank you.
So the Teen Prevention Leadership Academy has been doing some research on drug and alcohol use among teens. Now this is overall among teens, not just our area, our district. But as you can see with the alcohol, it's a serious concern within our community. According to the High School Youth Risk Behavior Survey, 29% of students reported drinking alcohol in the last 30 days. 14% of students reported binge drinking in the last 30 days. 40% of students reported they obtained the alcohol by someone providing it for them. Okay, so when you're in the store, kind of look around. We've done this before when Officer McGlynn and all of us went out looking at areas where the alcohol was placed and everything. So trying to keep up with that in our community through the Drug Coalition and seeing what's out there, how it's placed, how it's targeted to the teens and everything. So then the use of nicotine. Around 1.5 million packs of cigarettes are purchased for minors a year. In 2020, 24% of students reported using a tobacco product in the last 30 days. E-cigarettes are the most common tobacco product used by teens, and 1 in 5 teens reported using e-cigarettes in the last 5 days. Tobacco distributors are marketing to teens hoping to gain lifelong customers. So they're targeting our teens to get them hooked on the tobacco. They have raised the age now to 21 to purchase cigarettes. So marijuana among teens is growing concern, and if not addressed, it will have a harmful effect on teens' developing brains. As you can see, 38% of high school students reported using marijuana. The negative effects of that are difficulty thinking and problem solving, problems with memory and learning, impaired coordination, difficulty maintaining attention, and psychosis. So we're seeing more and more of that now that they've also made it legal for the medical end. There are prevention strategies that they're recommending. One of the most important prevention strategies is talking with the youth and teens, being able to communicate with them and build trust with motivate them to make smart choices. So we need to be knowledgeable and help educate the youth, build self-esteem, be proactive and present in their lives, set a good example, have an escape plan, and parents need to talk with the youth and establish a signal or sign for them when they're in an uncomfortable position. So there are, different things that we can do. We have the Union County hotlines, addiction hotline, suicide hotline. We have it all in this brochure. We don't have many people here tonight, so I'm going to hold on to these for in future use when we come. On top, you will see a little coaster that you can scan and go on and take a little trivia test from the Drug-Free Youth Coalition here in Union County.
Am I mistaken, Amy, or didn't one of our students create?
Yes, and along with, I believe, some Fairbanks students as well.
Good.
Yes, in our county, yes.
I was-
And then they got these numbers and stuff from, as you can see here, like the CDC,
Right.
the military, Corp Community Services. So I would say that these stats are pretty accurate.
Okay. And do you know, are they, because I know in the past we've done those posters, like, do you know if they're planning to do things like that?
Like above the influence?
Yeah,
I
above
have
the
not
influence,
heard
things like that, okay.
They
But I
have
know
not brought
Mr.
that up, but I would like
Okay.
to see that happen
know,
again
I thought
next
that
year.
was
Mr.
really-
Chafin is going to be on that committee now.
Okay,
so
good.
With our switching roles, so.
Yes.
I will
Yeah.
follow up with him too.
Yeah,
Yes, I would
Okay.
love to see that, and I can also bring that up to Nancy, that we as a school would like to see that happening again, because I
Right.
thought that was terrific.
I thought so too, yep. Okay, great, well, thank you for bringing and sharing that information with us. Moving on to the business section of our meeting, I would accept a motion to approve the draft minutes from our May 20th, 2021 regular meeting and our May 24th, 2021 special meeting.
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Powers,
Second.
second by Ms. Savage. Any comments, corrections, edits, questions? Nope. Okay, roll call.
Ms. Powers?
Yes.
Ms. Savage?
Yes.
Mr. Luke?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Ms. Devine?
Yes, motion carries. Next, item 7, we have a couple of Board of Education items. First, I would accept a motion to approve the revised governance team operating protocols.
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Savage,
Second.
second by Mr. Smith. Any comments or questions?
I just wanted to remark that these are available for the public to look at, like how would they get to them?
Yeah, well, they are going to be, if we approve them, then they'll be on our website, on the Board of Education page. Our board protocols are on there.
It's only a couple pages, but we did put a lot of thought into it, a lot of discussion. I'm happy with how they came out, and if people want to get some sense of what we're about, they might want to take a look at them at some point.
Yeah. I agree. It had been a few years since we had reviewed them, and I think it's something we really need to make an annual event to read them over, because, I guess we all learn things every year, and it just kind of highlights, it's a good refresher for all of us too about the value of chain of command, and if community members or staff members look at it, I think it helps to build that sense of trust too, that we have our own certain roles, we understand what they are, but we all share the same goals. So I appreciate everybody, it really was. I thought it was a really good meeting, really good conversation.
I was really pleased with the conversation. We had a lot of good give and take trying to put these together, and I would agree that going back over them helps to reinstill the different roles that we have, helps to emphasize those things which are important for us to remember. So,
Right.
Also, the very first item is so key. As a first priority, the governance team will advocate for the needs and interests of every student in the district,
Yes.
while respecting the community's values, beliefs, and priorities. So there's a lot packed in there, and we all agree to that, and we all mean it, and we live up to it as best we can.
Exactly. Okay, great. Well, with that, roll call, please.
Ms. Savage?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes,
Mr. Luke?
Yes.
Ms. Powers?
Yes.
Ms. Devine?
Yes, motion carries. And I'll make sure that that revised protocol is uploaded onto our website. Next, I would accept a motion to nominate Dick Smith for the OSBA Recognition Award.
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Powers,
Second.
second by Mr. Luke. And as part of that nomination, we have a resolution that I would like to read right here. So whereas Dick Smith, a board member at the Marysville Exempted Village School District, has served the district with distinction, and whereas Dick Smith has dedicated his time for the betterment of the students and community, and whereas Dick Smith has proven to be dedicated to the craft of board governance through his commitment to training, service, and governance skills, and whereas such measures have advanced student achievement in the district and improved the governance of the district, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Marysville Exempted Village School District nominates Dick Smith for the Ohio School Boards Association's Recognition Award. And as I think you all know, this past year, OSBA started a new award program. In the past, they've had a board member, what was it, Master of Achievement or something, and then Master
Yeah,
Board Member
chief,
2.
and master.
Yes.
And I would point out that you have the master school board designations.
Yes, I received that under the old awards program, and I know Nan and Dick both received the Award of Achievement previously, and so then they started this new program called the Star Awards, and it's got 4 areas: service, training, aptitude, and recognition. And so Dick had received the servant training earlier, and then the aptitude test just became available on June 14th. And I believe Mr. Smith probably took it the second it was available, and must have passed it because I got an email saying that he was eligible and that we needed to nominate him if we felt that it was a worthy nomination. So if this is approved, once this is approved, he will have earned the Master Board Member designation as well, which is a lifelong designation. So we really appreciate all of the time and effort that you have put into this. So, and I think some other board members could very well earn this themselves. So,
I would want to thank all of the members of the board, because any time a recognition is earned, it is not earned by the individual. It's earned by the group. And without the opportunities and the support and so forth that all of you have given in different ways, being able to complete this goal would not have happened. And I am very much indebted to each of you, to our treasurer and our superintendent, for their support and help in being able to do the things that I've done. So it is not something, you never achieve anything in life by yourself. There are always people around you, and people that support you, and people that give you the opportunity. And to that, I would thank the voters for placing confidence in me also. So thank you all very much.
you're welcome. I think it's well-deserved. So you can be given opportunities, but at the end of the day, you have to take the action. So I'm sending it back in your direction. Any other comments? Not, then roll call.
Great job.
Congratulations.
Yeah,
Thank
roll
you.
call.
Ms. Powers?
Yes.
Mr. Luke?
Yes.
Ms. Savage?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Abstain?
Ms. Devine?
Yes, motion carries. Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure. And I'm guessing, I don't know if this will be I'm guessing it'll be a recognition at the fall Central Region Conference.
That's,
So, yeah, we will look forward to seeing that as well.
thank you.
Sure, thank you. All right, next, make sure I'm staying on task here. I would accept a motion to approve the treasurer CFO action items.
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Savage,
Second?
second by Ms. Powers. Any comments?
Just a couple items. One, just some minor adjustments for current year appropriations as we're starting to plan ahead for summer this coming summer's PI projects. You also see the fiscal year '22 appropriations, as we always approve the next year's appropriations in June. They're pretty well in line with previous years. The general fund matches the 5-year forecast, so no surprise there. There's a big jump in there with our ESSER grant,
Yeah.
so that's a significant increase due to that federal grant that we're receiving. There's some changes in the federal grant numbers as the states kind of, they try to keep us on our toes by just flip-flopping numbers.
Let's see, a couple
sometimes.
new things in here.
Yeah, well, one, they had changed,
Okay.
and now they're changing it back. So just when everybody gets used to the new number.
Right.
They also just highlight there's several very significant donations on the agenda as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I did. I saw that. We had a nice robotics team grant, and then the annual Polly and Warren Widener Scholarship donation, and then the stadium donations and pledge payments. So again, we really appreciate the support of our community members and businesses in that project. So any questions of Todd? Okay, then roll call.
Ms. Savage?
Yes.
Ms. Powers?
Yes.
Mr. Luke?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes,
Ms. Devine?
Yes, motion carries. Next, I would accept a motion to approve Amber Powers as elementary summer school staff, certified staff.
So moved.
second?
Motion by Ms. Savage, second by Mr. Smith. Any questions, comments? Just thanks for our teachers who are willing to help out with our summer school so we could
Absolutely.
serve so many students.
Right. Well, we've got a lot
Oh, my gosh.
in the. when
Oh,
we get to
right, in the HR
super-
section.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, roll call.
Ms. Savage?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes,
Mr. Luke?
Yes.
Ms. Powers?
Abstain.
Ms. Devine?
Yes, motion carries. And next, I would accept a motion to approve all of the superintendent items.
so moved?
Motion by Mr. Smith,
Second.
second by Ms. Savage.
Second.
Okay. Diane, any comments?
I've just highlighted a few things you would see in this section, the extension of our MEA agreement. So conversation with union leadership really was about, we're in a pretty good place. Things are going well. There weren't significant issues. We revised some language that was confusing to clean up, and then made agreements through the end of the school year 24. So we already had an agreement for this upcoming year, so this extended it for 2 years. I think Sue mentioned lots of summer school personnel on the agenda, several new hires on the agenda, extended days. We have, due to COVID, a lot of our 260-day employees or administrators have an excess of vacation. Some of them, it wouldn't even be possible to get in. So we are asking for the opportunity to increase their payout for this year only, increase that from 5 days to 10 days to help so they don't lose it in essence. We have first read policies as well. Feel free to ask any questions or make sure you reach out to Jonathan. Mr. Smith sits on that committee. These really are in response to getting in line with state and federal requirements. You also see an overnight girls basketball trip. We have continued to include the costs per family on there for your, so that you have knowledge of where those funds are coming from. I think those are the big items.
Okay.
I know the administrators, this was not a good year for them to take days off. So, as with most things, this year, I think, is one that you look at and treat differently. And so I can see real reason, justification for that. I would point out on the policies that several of them, innovative education programs, blended learning, and adult diploma really are just permissive policies. It puts things in place so that if something comes up, we have a policy that allows us to move forward. And I hope the girls have a great time on their trip.
Yeah, and since you were talking about the policies, I know like that blended learning one, that is a new policy, and it sounds like there's a group in the district or something that is working on a more detailed policy or handbook or something like that for that.
Right,
blended learning,
so when we seek to operationalize what blended learning is,
Right.
In Marysville, there are different rules depending on what, when we've discussed blended learning, you probably think more of a flipped classroom.
Right.
When you talk to ODE, really a blended is that at some point there's connection face to face, and sometime there's connection through virtual space. It's not defined to 50-50, 75-25, anything like that. So as we move forward with our virtual academy, it is qualified under a blended opportunity. And it's really going to be driven by each individual student. So if students are soaring without regular touch points, it might only be once a month. Other kids, maybe once a week, depending on that situation. So everyone will be starting kind of on a success plan to start the school year and define that. I would also mention, I guess, that I neglected, we also have $1,000 stipend in this Agenda 2 for teachers, and a $500 stipend for all classified staff, in essence as a kind of local COVID relief package and appreciation package for approval as well.
Okay.
Package might be a lofty word, but stipend, how's that?
Well, and I know there were several, as we know, every year, there's several resignations on there. And we certainly, everybody who's resigning, we always wish them the best, thank them for everything that they brought to Marysville. I know Steve Griffin is on there, and we appreciate his work in literacy for our district and wish him the best. And really, when I think about the fact that we extended the negotiations by another 2 years just through these informal conversations, that just speaks so much to the relationship that we have with them. I love that. I think that, I really appreciate that we're able to offer competitive wage increases, and I think that we just have to acknowledge the hard work that everybody has put in to maximize our resources, and the work that your department does with each building, on them setting their budgets and really having a good understanding of those budgets and working hard to stay within them or stay under them. All of those things working together just means that we can provide more services and opportunities for our students and pay our staff a competitive wage. And hopefully they know how much we appreciate them. So,
yeah. I know that we received some emails or contacts, and there were things that were posted on Facebook that under the hybrid system, the teachers were working 4 days a week, not 5, or that now that they were working from home, that, things. And the insinuation was that they were not working as hard, but the reality was that they were working much, much harder.
right.
And anyone that had a conversation with a teacher during this past year and asked them how their year was going found out that the stress levels were out of sight. The expectations which the teachers felt themselves to be able to meet the needs of the students that they had in their class, and what they had to do to kind of struggle to meet some of the needs for the individuals in their class is just astounds me.
It is.
What the teachers have been able to do. So I understand people will have different visions and different perspectives on things. But I think if people look at the facts, they will find that what we're doing for the teachers and our staff is minuscule in comparison to the efforts and time and energy that they put forth to try to meet the needs of all of our kids. As Brian said, our first goal is to meet the needs of every single student in our district. We are a personalized learning school district, and that's not easy under the best of times, and we've just come through some of the worst. So.
Right. And I think it's important to also, not just the teachers, and I know you've said staff, but, I think about our bus drivers, I think about our food service workers, and just some of the incredible amounts of work that they put in, when we were hybrid or over the summer, just having to change routes all the time as people changed whether they were going to be virtual or coming back. That's no easy feat. And I just think there's so much behind the scenes work that, unless you're in the building, unless you're a principal or a teacher, people have no idea how crazy it was.
Well, I know when we had an opportunity end of May to visit some of the buildings, and I made a point to try to get to the cafeterias. Because our food service, now this past year and coming into this year, lunches are free. And we had to figure out some way to, create those lunches and then distribute those lunches. And the amount of work that was done to get that done was just, it was just incredible.
It was.
And I really appreciated the fact that we were in a position to be able to not turn a single child away. Everybody that showed up and stuck their hand out and got a meal. That was just so nice, because families were suddenly thrust into situations where maybe the week before there were 2 wage earners in the family, and this week maybe there's nobody that had a job, or only one, and the expenses don't suddenly go away. So circumstances could certainly change on a dime, and being able to make sure that the kids were taken care of, at least in part, is just incredible. So, the custodial staff, what they had to do to try to keep the buildings clean, bus drivers that were running all over everywhere, doing everything. There wasn't anybody in our school district that didn't go above and beyond.
In saying that, I'd like to shout out kudos to all of our administration too for keeping
yeah.
it all in line.
And I think we forgot to say something about our technology department.
Oh, our technology, our administration, these two sitting over here, these guys.
I think that we almost feel like they're a part of our governance team this year,
Oh, man.
We really appreciate them. And I guess the final comment is, I know we have another guest
I
here
was
that
gonna
after we,
announce
yes,
after you vote,
after we vote, we get to meet somebody officially, so.
Okay.
If I may,
Yeah.
just a quick comment.
Sure.
As we're voting on the extension, I would just
Yes.
point out that I'm very happy with having that extension. I think it speaks great to our relationship with the teachers union. I think it was a fair extension for our staff. I think it was fair from our perspective, and I also think it was fair for our taxpayers.
Yes.
But I also want to point out, and not just to butter Diane up, but this just again is another example of how Diane is always at the forefront and ahead of the game, because when the whole COVID pandemic started, if you looked at our ending cash balance, it was very good. But Diane, again, at that point, we made cost-cutting measures at that point that saved significant dollars in fiscal year 21 that really more than paid for this COVID bonus that we're giving. So I mean, kudos to Diane for having the foresight to do that.
That was a very good comment to make, so I couldn't agree more. Okay, roll call.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Ms. Savage?
Yes.
Mr. Luke?
Yes.
Ms. Powers?
Yes.
Ms. Devine?
Yes, motion carries. You have a announcement to make, Mrs. Allen?
I do. It's my pleasure to officially welcome Katie Morgan. Tom, would you like to? Tom, as you know, is the new early college principal. I'm putting him on the spot totally.
Yes.
Yes.
Do I go up to the mic?
Sure.
Sure, yeah. Come on up, Katie.
Katie.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, we are just absolutely thrilled to have Catherine Morgan here with us at ECHS and as a Marysville employee now. She came in and just wowed our staff. Did a second interview, wowed us again. So we are fully behind her. She's spent the past few years in New Albany as an assistant principal and as an English teacher, highly recommended. I think their principal cried when I called for the reference check. So again, we are extremely thrilled that she's here, so welcome.
And a Marysville resident.
Yes,
Yes.
yes, and most
Yes.
importantly, Marysville is.
Yeah, so good evening. Thanks so much for having me here. Like Mr. Holdren said, my name's Katie Morgan. Catherine is when I'm in trouble or need to clean my room. Yeah, you can call me Katie. And I am a Marysville resident. My husband and I actually live about a mile from here over in Mill Valley North. We have an 11-month-old son, Roman, who I look forward to getting in this school system as well here in a few years. He needs to slow down and stop growing up so quickly.
Exactly.
But I know it'll be here before we know it. Just a little bit about me professionally. Tom said I've been an administrator and a teacher with New Albany Plain Local Schools. I've spent the last 11 years there, but I'm super excited to join the community completely holistically here with you at Marysville. I'm really, really dedicated and have a passion for individual learning. That's sort of my shtick, if you will, at New Albany, personal learning plans. And I ran our alternative program where every student is on a personal learning plan as well. It was the first of its kind in the district. So I'm really excited to collaborate, innovate, be inspired by our kids, learn a lot from your staff, and hopefully allow everybody to learn from me too. So thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you. Welcome, Katie. We're
So
glad to
every
have you
once
here.
in a while you have one of those interviews and you
Yes.
start having a discussion and
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, okay, no
Yeah.
brainer, let's move on. So we talked a lot about, you know, the concept of every single kid in the school district being put on an IEP of sorts and on their own trajectory to whatever their future ready goals are. And so we're super excited to welcome you and get you to work.
Thank you.
Great. All right, time for comments and questions. Ms. Powers.
Well, excited that this past year is over. And that we are moving on and we can actually like even sit, you know,
Yes.
like in a real format here and everything. Thank you, Diane and Todd, for leading us through a very difficult year. Make our job easy, so, you know. And thank everybody on the board that we were all able to come together and stay together and be able to get through this year. So looking really forward to next year and how these kids are going to pick up and get right back into where they were.
Great.
Yep. Ditto to everything that she just said. I want to thank Diane and Todd for their leadership throughout this past year. It's been a trying year for everyone, and I also want to make sure we're saying thank you to the admins, to the teachers, but the classified staff too, because they really went above and beyond. And I really enjoyed getting into each of the buildings and talking with people. We only got to do it the once this year, kind of towards the end of the year, and the kids weren't clearly ready to get out of school. But it makes such a difference when you're actually able to go into the school, talk to the teachers, talk to the students, hear about what they're doing. It makes a huge difference, and it's very impactful. So very proud of the district.
Yep. Mr. Smith.
I want to point out a couple of things from the board notes. Raymond has a summer reading program again, celebrating the kids K-3, the kids that will be in the building next year. As they go through their reading program, they play a bingo game I thought it was interesting that to get a square, they could read a book that makes you laugh or read a book outside under a tree.
Right.
I thought that was a neat way to approach different kinds of reading situations. And they had an open house where they met all of the kids that are going to be in kindergarten next year. Tri-Academy was phenomenal. They had 78 students this year, and they earned 636 credits. Had 48 people that were able to complete and earn their diploma. And they've got a new personalized program, T2, that I don't know a lot about at this point. There's 46 students on the roster at this point, and it is a recovery program that's transitioning to the high school. So really excited for that. And good things happening at Creekview as they're kind of reevaluating what went on with the year. And I'm just thrilled. We've got 600 kids that are engaged in something over the summer. I think that speaks well for the type of experience that kids are having within schools. And I've already said thank you to everybody, so I'll end on that.
Okay,
Thank you.
Brian, Mr. Luke.
Well, I was going to welcome Catherine Morgan to the district. I don't want you to think that you're in trouble. I'll say welcome, Katie.
Thank you.
And Tom, you know, the ECHS is one of our gems of the district, so we really wish both of you a great year. And we're available to support what you're doing, and let us know what you need.
No, we appreciate that. We are excited. We were just talking to John about how we want to start right now, tomorrow.
Mhm.
Excited to see the kids, excited to work with the
Yeah.
staff, and just the reputation of ECHS. I mean, it's very well known, so we're
Welcome
thrilled
to-
to be a part of it.
To both of you to that challenge.
Thank you
And
so much.
there's a lot of great things on the agenda tonight. None of them really jump out, but I did notice there's a lot of personnel change. There's new people coming in. There's new administrative appointments. I'll just mention one. Where we have a new Japanese teacher, so thank you for putting that together. We're going to miss Iya Sensei, as we called her.
It's a new old Japanese teacher. Tanya was in the district, left, and is coming back.
Oh,
So
okay.
welcome back.
Okay.
And to all of our new staff, welcome. We will get out in the buildings this fall and welcome as many as we can in person.
Yeah.
So a lot of good things on the agenda. I thank our donors that were on the list, and I'm looking forward to a basketball game or some sporting event soon.
In the new gymnasium?
Yes, I'm glad that that's going well.
Yeah. Nice. Okay, thank you. Todd, any comments?
Nope.
Okay, Anya? None? Wow, okay. Well, heck, I've got a few. I think graduation was after our last meeting, I think it was the Saturday after our last meeting. So, also I looked back, I'm like, oh yeah, I just wanted to make a comment that I thought graduation was just excellent, you know? Although we did have a record number of beach balls, I think. Seriously though, the students, they just do a fabulous job running that whole show. The speeches were wonderful, the choir was outstanding, and of course we had the backflip by our amazing pole vaulter, can't forget that, right in front of me and Brian. And then
Yeah, I felt the breeze.
I know, yeah. I think Mrs. Vera Spencer and her team deserve a shout out because they do, that's one of those things where there's so much behind the scenes work that it's just unbelievable, but they do a great job. And then our tech department, they had to deal with some issues right before we were supposed to start, and we got started pretty close to on time, so that was wonderful. And I want to go back to the contract extension again, too, because I think, everything you said is just, it's so important for our community to know, because as you said, we're representing the district, but we also are liaisons with our community, and I think it's important that they know how much we work to maximize our resources and to keep our staff happy, because a happy staff is a more productive staff. So thank you for all the work that you did and for working hard to keep that relationship as good as it is. Let's see, on those building notes, at the chamber meeting this morning, I was sitting next to a parent, and she has 3 kids, and 2 of them go to Northwood, and they had attended the STEAM camp for the last 2 weeks, and she was almost in tears. She goes, "Oh my gosh, it was such an amazing experience for my kids." So kind of maybe finish with that summer extended learning program, great opportunity for our kids and for our families, and thank you for our staff for working so hard to put that together. And I would now accept a motion, and welcome, Katie.
Can I say one more thing? That
Yeah, you want to say
you
one
know,
thing?
given where we were seated for the graduation, I will say that a number of the students took the beach balls and put them down next to their feet and did not let them get bounced around anymore. So there's a division of opinion among the students about the beach balls. Also, I have 2 high school graduates, so I was given an inside line about how they got the beach balls in, but it was after the fact.
Okay.
There was a lot. There were a lot of beach balls.
There were. Okay. With that, I would accept a motion to adjourn. Motion by Mrs. Powers, second by Mr. Smith. Roll call.
Ms. Powers?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Luke?
Yes.
Ms. Savage?
Yes.
Ms. Devine?
Yes, motion carries. We are adjourned at 7:16. It's about the earliest time we've adjourned in a while, so.
Yes,
Thank
it
you